First things first, today in the Kingdom of Rust, the postman has decided to deliver us some flat pack MGB steel panels. We'll just open these up. There we go. This one made specifically for the MGB GT, but these are available for all other cars as well. So hiding in our panel here, we have many patch panels and body panels. Right, onwards. So now that all the paint is dried on this diff, I think we all agree that it looks a little bit better. It's gone a bit dusty actually because I was cleaning a lot of other things as well while this is sitting here drying. But obviously it'll just come off the way. I'll just show you some of the other things as well. And the last time I painted the, let's give you some light. There we go. We painted the drums, and we painted the back plates, and we also painted the handbrake levers and the actuation arms, or whatever they're called. Next thing I think today, I'll just save a bit of energy, turn that off. We're going to look at draining the fluids from this diff. We'll take all this this masking tape off, and we'll just remove the back plate and the other bits and pieces that we just need to paint. There's always something really satisfying about pulling this tape off. You see how you've done. I mean, yes, it's only a diff and it can't really go wrong too much with this, but still nice to take it off. You remember we said that, or I said that Royal We there, we can just touch up this edge when we've finished. There we go. So if there's any problems with it, little splodge of paint and no one will ever know. Well, apart from you obviously, but if you don't tell anyone, I won't. And what I'm going to have to do now is drain the oil from the diff. I think we've got a filler here, and underneath we've got a drain plug. First problem of the day. Haven't got a key for one of these, so let's make one. And here, focus. There we go, that should do. I think I just need to take the sides down just a little bit to make it a bit more comfortable a fit. And that's it, we've got our tool. There we go. Success. Okay, let's see if we can't get this undone. Ready? Don't lose your nut. Now, I'm no expert, like you need to tell it, but I'm fairly sure diff oil is not meant to be black. It might go that way eventually, but I'm certainly not going to go down to Halfords or whatever and ask them if they got an EP 1890 or whatever this is. Can I have it in black, please? Right, let's just let that drain out. I'm going to clean this now. Nice. It appears to me that's finished relieving itself. Let's get the back plate off the diff. Okay, now I've never taken the back off one of these before, so I don't know if all these are different length bolts or whatever, so I'm just going to try and keep them in the right order. Okay, I'm going to keep them in the right order. They all appear to be 1/2 inch bolts, and there's one big one, for whatever reason I can't remember, which is 9/16, so that's that one. So let's see if we can get the rest of them off. There we go, it's a well-worn method, but that's the best way of keeping these bolts in order. If you can hear a dog barking in the background, by the way, it's not my dog. Alright, so the back plate should just come off. In theory. Then we want to fill the diff with lots of bits of old gasket if I can help it. Just so we've broken a little bit of this stiction or whatever you call it. Now gently. So no real effort involved here. And off it comes. Marvellous. Well, definitely stinks. Right, let's empty what's left of the oil out anyway. Well, this has proven to be quite handy, this stand. Right, so we'll let the dregs of that drain out, and then we'll have a quick look inside, make sure there's nothing horrible. And in the meantime, we'll clean off that back plate and get that painted along with those two end pieces I took off earlier. Okay, so we've got diff back plate, and we've got the two bearing caps basically for the ends of the diff, and these include the end oil seals. So you can see, just to know which way around they go with the cup facing insides. You can see that? And the smooth face outside. So I'm going to press these out in a minute, but first we're just going to give these a bit of a clean with some brake cleaner. Right, last things first, just a thin scraper, a nice flat edge, not too sharp, and we'll just get rid of the old gasket gunk and whatever else is on here. So just putting some masking tape on this to protect the mating surface of the gasket. Keep it all nice and clean. Okay, back to these. These are the caps that go on the end of the axles, and they also hold the oil seal as well. Basically, just a quick clean off, make sure that inside mating face is really nice. We'll give this a wire wheel, and at the end of it, then we'll take this out, because what I don't want to do is damage the inner face of this while I'm cleaning these up. So yeah, same treatment, wire wheel stuff, and then we'll get those seals pressed out. There we go. Right, so here we are with our differential. Now it's time, after I've obviously done all the painting and what have you on this. A few touch-ups to do, but it's pretty much done. Obviously got the back plate off now, and we can see inside. There's it's really good inside. It's absolutely fine. I mean, I didn't expect it to have any wear on it anyway, but there's no nasty chips anywhere. I had to feel through the oil that came out, and there was nothing interesting in that. I even fished through with a magnet, and there was nothing, no filings or anything. So what I'm going to do, as much for interest as anything, I'm going to, these diffs are known for a clunking fault, effectively, where basically there's a clunk in the diff. Now I don't really expect this one to have it, but if I'm going to do this job properly and thoroughly, and I want to drive the pants off this car when it's done, I want to do some miles in it. So what I'm going to do is do the fix, basically, which is to add some thrust washers and a couple of cup washers, or replace them anyway in this diff. It's a standard thing for an MG, and I think it'd be interesting for people to see. I basically learned how to do it from YouTube. It's not something I've done before, but it's pretty straightforward, and I'll try and film it as and talk about it as detailed, in as detailed a way as I possibly can. So yeah, I'm going to do the de-clunking work on this centre part of the diff. I'm going to renew. I'm not going to renew these bearings, but I'm going to renew the oil seals at each end of the shafts. I'm going to renew the pinion end oil seal in here. And between those three jobs, they're the ones that MG owners are most likely to do, certainly in a higher mileage car. Again, this isn't a high mileage car, but it's interesting to see the jobs. It's interesting for me to do. It's something I haven't done before, so I'll learn a bit from it as well. And I learned how to do these things from other YouTubers really watching their channel. So there's nothing new here that I'm going to do, but hopefully if it helps somebody, or if I film it in a slightly different way, or explain it in a different way, maybe it'll help you. Right, so time for a little bit of engineering. Let's do the thrust washers, I think, and the cup washers first inside the diff. Now, I'm not going to pretend to teach you how a differential works. I'm sure if you're looking at this video, you probably know anyway how it works. But I'll tell you what the pieces are inside. We've got a crown wheel here. It's a big wheel. We've got, if we just turn this, I think I should be able to turn it. There we go. We've got the carrier cage, which is here. We've got two sun wheels, one on this side, one on this side, and we've got two planetary wheels, which are the smaller top and bottom ones there. Okay, now that here's a tiny little bit of play in that. Actually, God, there's barely any play in that at all. And I don't know if you can quite see it inside, but coming through this way towards the camera, from the drive shaft, is the pinion gear. So the pinion gear drives the crown wheel, which drives this cage with the sun gears and the planetary gears inside. Okay, so before we actually start working on this, because what we're going to do, we're going to be changing the two thrust washers on the edge of the sun gears and the two cup washers, which are on the top and bottom of these planetary gears. But before we do that, we actually have to remove one of these, one of the half shafts. So the half shafts come in this way. So I'm going to have to work out some sort of bearing puller to actually pull the half shaft out to give us some room to access the thrust washers and things in here. So that's the first job. So I've managed to find this, which is a back plate from my lathe, spare one, and that fits just nicely. The distance between these two holes is exactly the same as the distance between the holes in the end of the axle tube, which is really good. So what we need to do is take 2 pieces of threaded bar, pass them through these, put a nut on the end, and as we wind these, then this will actually pull the bearing out of the race. So I need to turn these down in the lathe, and then we need to rethread these. So that's the next job. Now these ends need to be turned down to around about 9mm. Okay, so time for final assembly of our homemade bearing puller. So we've got our 2 threaded bars here. So we put a nut on first, followed by a washer. There we go. Now, in turn, they go through this face of the old back plate. Go. And then we put a nut on the end of each one of these. You'll see that I've ground the old blacking, whatever it is. It's not Japaning, it's the blackening anyway off these bolts so that they weld properly. And now all we need to do is just weld in the centre of these, just so that we've got something to grip against when we're winding these nuts back to pull the bearing out. So I just need to do some welding. So watch your eyes for a second. There we go, that should do it. Now, hopefully things will become a little bit more obvious. I know it's a bit hard to picture how things like this are going to work until you see them in action really, but okay, so that's the hub nuts off. We just put this on here with those located in those holes in the end of the axle tube. Put the hub nut back on. There we go. Now these nuts aren't particularly straight. They are, however, bloody hot. Right, there we go. Alright, so the idea is that we use, like in this case, the 17mm spanner to wind these 2 nuts back. Okay, they're going to pull this plate backwards, going to pull this bearing out, and the way we stop these bolts rotating is with those nuts that we welded on earlier, and we just put a socket on the end. So as long as we wind these back symmetrically, it should be absolutely fine. So if I pop that on there, and we'll just tighten that nut up. I'll just bring it in a little bit closer so you can see exactly what's going on. Okay, that's tight straight away. can actually see it moving now. Now, I'm not replacing this bearing at all because it's absolutely fine, you know. It's the car's done, I keep saying it, but it's only done 40,000 miles, and it doesn't look like they were hard miles either. It probably had a harder time in the garage. So I don't really see there's much point in replacing the bearing, which is absolutely fine. Yeah, it's coming out quite nicely. I will be renting this tool out for £8,000 an hour anytime soon. That's pretty much it. I can feel it's really loose now. Yeah, I'm just doing this by hand now. Let's have a look. There we go. And there's the bearing out. Excellent. Right, first thing we're looking at is the removal of this roll pin, which keeps the pinion pin in. So tap that. And that just drops out the bottom. There we go. So there's the roll pin. Okay, now we need to rotate the crown wheel so that we can punch this pin through. And we're going to do this until we can see about ½ an inch at the bottom there. So we just need to rotate the crown wheel to rotate the cage towards us. There we go. No wonder car you'd be able to do this anyway without. And we can start to tap this pin out. Okay, now it's very loose, and you can actually see now it's actually appeared. You can't quite see it there, but you can see it's appeared at the bottom. In fact, I'll just show you. There we go, you can see the pinion pins just drop down. That's about an inch down. Just need to make sure it doesn't go too far, or it's going to lock the cage from rotating again, which we needed to do to pull that pin out. Now I need to rotate the cage away from us. Let's have a look. There we go. Just far enough so that we can retract that pin. Or extract that pin. And this pin should just drop down. There we go. Now you'll notice that there are flat sides to this and a rounded side. So the rounded side goes on the right, and you see there's a flat edge that goes on the left hand side. So you just retract the pin. There we go, should come out fairly easily. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is look at taking the sun wheels out to have a look at the thrust washers, and then we'll look at the copper cup washers, or brass cup washers, which are on the Planet wheels. Now what we can do is rotate these wheels independently, and you'll see that the bottom Planet wheel comes out. There we go. And you see there's the cup washer on the bottom there, and the other one's dropped into the back, doesn't matter. and there's the top planet wheel. And if we look up here, I should just be able to hook out the washer. Now, as we say, this car's done 40,000, maybe 46,000 miles, so they're not tremendously worn. There's a little bit of wear though. You can feel a little bit of wear on there, and it's certainly a job that's worth doing because it will never need doing again. Now we can look at removing the sun gears or the sun wheels. Here we go. That should just pop out. There we are. And this one still actually has its thrust washer on, and it's not too worn at all, because we said there wasn't an awful lot of wear on this. Again, still worth doing. If I just try and get this thing off. Come on, there we go. Okay, nice clean face there. And here's our thrust washer. You may well find that the one in yours is either gone or falling to bits. That's what makes it clunk. But as we said, this isn't too bad a nick anyway, so. But there you go, that's what comes off. It's the right hand one. And what we can do, just to double check that our spares are correct, I shall go and get the thrust washers that we have. Okay, so this is the kit that we ordered. And we get 2 thrust washers. There we go. And actually, if I look at this, there's barely any wear on that old one at all. But anyway, and they are the correct size. You can see that does slip over there quite nicely. So 2 thrust washers. We get the 2 top and bottom cup washers, and they do have a little bit of wear because you can feel there's no ridge on this on the inside. Just to show you, on the ones we're taking off, they do have a little bit of wear. It's probably almost impossible to see on the camera, but just on this inner edge here, you see there's no raised piece, and on here, yeah, you can feel there's a little bit of wear there. So it's definitely worth doing. So we get 2 of those, and of course we also get a nice new roll pin to secure that pinion pin back in. Okay, so first things last. Thrust washers first. Okay, now we can remove the sun wheel from the left hand side. Here we go. Shouldn't be difficult to get off. There we go. And again, we can see that thrust washer is still there. It's actually not tremendously worn. I think most of the wear in this has been on those 2 cup washers on the top and bottom planet gears. There we go. Okay, so we'll just put the new washer on there. Just pre-lubricate it first with some of the old oil. There we go. That on. We can now line up with the splines on the left hand side. There we are. And that just pushes in. We take the one from the right side. No splines to line it up on, obviously, because the shaft's being pushed out on that side. Okay, that's that side in. Now we can put the planet wheels back in. So, bottom planet wheel first. Just line that up, and we just push him in. Okay. Take the bottom planet wheel cup washer, set that in underneath. You can actually find you can get your finger up through this, the hole which you normally pass the pin through. There we go. And just use your finger just to align it there at the bottom. Okay. Now what we need to do is, I'm going to rotate the wheel slightly that way. You see, all I'm doing is I'm just pushing this bottom planet wheel backwards, and that's going to rotate the right wheel this way. Take the top planet wheel, pop him on. Now, as we rotate that back again, we should find, we just get it aligned nicely, that we can push that back in a little bit further. And we do that until they are absolutely opposite. Right, Try again. There we go. A little bit further. So basically these two planet wheels, the smaller wheels, just have to be exactly opposite each other so that that pinion pin can go all the way through. Let's check that's aligned at the bottom, which it is. And let's see that's aligned at the top, which it is. Okay, now you'll probably say that that bottom cup washer fell out while I was doing this, so I'll pop that back in. And make sure that that is aligned, which it is. Okay, next we're looking at putting the pinion pin back in. Remember the flats go on the left hand side, so if we can just rotate that cage a little bit more, gently tap it through, shouldn't take too much to tap it through. There we go. Now we can look at putting the top washer in, and ideally align it with your finger. It's not easy for me to rotate these cogs actually, but I'm going to try. Now the only resistance we should feel with this going in, make sure that this pin lines up with, or the pinhole lines up with where this pin will be. The only resistance we should feel as you're tapping this back in is just gently, it goes through the cog, and then you might feel a little bit of resistance as it lines up that washer. There you go, just a little bit. Before you tap it all the way in, make sure that the roll pinhole is correct. There you go. Put that in. Check that this hole is aligned, which it will be any second. Come on. Now all that is just a gentle tapping just to align that, which it is. You get our nice new roll pin. Which is exceedingly difficult to get out of the little packet when you've got diffy, oily fingers. There we go. There it is. And this goes into this hole here, exactly where the old one came out of. It. And then we can use drift just to finish it off the rest of the way. Right, now to reinsert this bearing, all you need is the original bearing end cap, which we're actually going to use reversed. So we'll pop that on there for a minute. We'll relocate the axle. There we go. And it actually drops in a little bit anyway. Right, we need a couple of bolts and washers and nuts. So basically, just a long threaded bolt with a washer and a nut. Through here, put that on. And same on the opposite side. So it's finger tight and pretty much symmetrical. There we go. And now it's just a matter of tightening up these bolts, which is going to push this bearing in. Right, so you can see that's in nice and tight, so we'll take that off. And just to make sure, you can give this a very little tap, and you should be able to hear that it's fully seated. Yeah. Right, next. Now before we even think about putting a gasket back on this, we're going to clean this face off. So what I don't really want to do is put all these little bits and pieces inside the diff. I mean, they're only old FTB gasket sealing and things, but it doesn't mean we want them in with the oil or inside the diff. So I'm just going to cover this up with some of my wife's best kitchen towel. Right, now we can pop the back plate on. So what I'm going to use Hylamar to seal paper gaskets on. Hopefully this is okay. Again, not my area of expertise, but we'll do our best. So this is obviously all being cleaned off. And what we'll do, if we can actually squeeze some of this stuff out, come on. Right. Now this isn't the only part that's going to form a seal on this. There is actually a paper gasket which I'm going to put some Hylamar on as well. So I'm not looking to create a gasket out of this stuff, and I'll probably run a continuous bead. Okay, now we have our gasket, which I will likewise cover with Hylamar. I'm just going to smooth both sides out with my finger. So there's a reasonably even coating on both sides. Yep, the other side is just the same. And we're just going to keep masking tape from this. And then we painted it. Make sure we haven't blocked up any of these holes with paint. A little bit more paper there. So just a smear of Hylamar around this, and then we'll offer this up to the diff. Now I've already lined up the paper gasket, which we covered in Hylamar, onto the diff, which we covered in Hylamar, and I'm just going to offer this up. You just center it with one of our
and that's everything all buttoned up, so hopefully that's alright. Right, move on to the next job. Onwards.